This is a video response to a rant I just saw. Actually, I saw it initially in a group on Facebook, and then I went to the channel. A guy named Lauren West, and he's got a good gripe. In fact, the text or the link will be below as to what he's actually ranting about. He's basically talking about how eclectic witches are watering down or fluff bunnying up the pagan scene, and I cannot agree furthermore. But that kind of shit flies too much, too soon, and too many times. I mean, you got the problem is I do see pagans as the foundation or the root of witchcraft, but paganism still is paganism. A very good example. You got wolves, and your wolves are your essence, the original, the first gene pool of canine, and then you'll have domestic dogs like your Chihuahua, your Bulldog, your Doberman, your Rottweiler, your German Shepherd, and they're all deviations of the original gene pool of the wolf. So in that metaphor, that's how I see it. Is it any better or any less? No, it's just a variance thereof. And what happens is you have people out there who don't like a singularity or a tradition in witchcraft, so they become a solitary eclectic practitioner, which isn't bad except for the fact because you don't have something to fall into or grow out of like a tradition. You're scatterbrained, and unless you come from a paradigm that is structured as such, in my particular left-hand path one, it was funny. I read the 12 books of how to be a Satanist, for instance, and but I came to my own conclusion where I stood, where I was at, versus becoming a member of a church. So for me, in retrospect, we call ourselves independent philosophical kind of people. But with paganism and witchcraft, you have the solitary eclectic practitioner, which parallels to that, except the problem is with the witches, they have a paradigm. Their paradigm is a dichotomy. There is light and dark. There is, but I said witch, not pagan. See, that's the one thing I find funny. Initially, I grew up very pagan, and I didn't live too far from Salem, Massachusetts, which were all witches, but you always have the pagan root, And when I would go off, to me, there was no dark or light. I mean, you had two sides of a coin. It's still a coin. So when you have people out there who are inducting their dichotomy into paganism, which is the biggest umbrella term for native beliefs, grassroots beliefs, there was no negative. They would have something to say it was going to be something bad for you, but there was no dark side. There was no, again, no dichotomy. Everything was inclusive. But people out there still want to pretend they live in a Hollywood world, and this is I agree with. Quite frankly, too many people out there still think Harry Potter is a real thing. But the joke about the South is, the Dukes of Hazzard was a documentary. One of those things. So when you have that kind of mindset, you don't have that level of retardism that you have to deal with. Let's see here. Meaningless friends versus asshole acquaintances. That was a great topic. Why? Because people are shallow. They are as deep as the words they type, and they very much do absolutely nothing for themselves, let alone for a community, no matter who they affiliate or associate with. Myself, I would rather stand alone than to deal with mediocrity. So for me, that's how I feel. So but it's my personal choice. It's my own personal paradigm. But another thing is there is a phenomena, and it's universal, and there's a universal tolerance, and that's called tech speak. Those who write on the walls of Facebook, for instance, in the way they would write in their phones. The reason why TextSpeak existed was you have a limitation of 161 characters. So TextSpeak was how to cram 10 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bucket. So you condensed your words to certain, basically a language unto itself. Understandable, but when you do it in an environment that doesn't have limitations on how you write, old school rules of English language do apply. I concur. Basically, people like to show off how stupid they are, and I know in the left-hand community, what they do is they just simply ostracize them. They don't even recognize them, passively block them, and they contribute to the page, but they do it where they are essentially alone. So people don't see that, they don't see their posts, don't even see them exist. So yeah, or you'll have someone who has an apex personality or alpha personality, and they're going to tell them how they feel, and grow the fuck up, get above a 6th grade education, come back, that kind of thing. But there is the way I describe it is it's TextSpeak, but I also see it as ignorant as well, because at that point, why stoop down? Why the decline in your own education for someone else? And the fluff bunnies, I love fluff bunnies. They taste so good in stew. And the fluff bunny part is when you have an argument with somebody, you're considered a hater or someone who's bad. I've been kicked out of so many fucking groups I can't keep track. I tell people simply block my ass, because I sign up for different groups erroneously, just doing it just to see what's out there, gather up my viewpoints or intelligence, if you would, kind of scan what's out there and how people present themselves, find out who is worth affiliating with and who is just full of shit. And the funny part is, with the fluff bunnies, opinions are not hate, but they'll say that. They'll go off and you're disrespectful, or you're that. Well, get some fucking thicker skin or some bullshit. For me, my channel, I have a tendency to vocalize how I feel, and I don't hold back. A lot of people actually threw me out of groups so far, that's about half a dozen, just on my profanity alone. Now, I can see if I'm just sitting there like a 12-year-old kid learning how to swear, or a little kid learning how to swear for the first time, and you're out of context. But when you go off and you learn how to put it in context, people don't know how to handle it either, because at that point they're like, I don't want to hear things. Well, that's the problem. A lot of people tell me they're inclusive. They embrace, like my coexist I have. They embrace the coexist, and they watch a few of my videos, and they turn around and they run away, because they claim one thing and practice another. I had a kid comment on my reverency. And it was funny. He was like, you're supposed to be a reverend, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that. He was perverting my title with my name, with his own ideal as to what a reverend's supposed to be. Of course, it was a ploy, it was a long story, but he was trying to indoctrinate his own focal point of what a reverend is towards what I was practicing. There are those who claim to be a reverend, and there are those who actually live it. And I do, I live it. And, here's a good example. If you really want to know how you live it, most ministers like to impose their belief or tell you you're bad and they make you feel guilty. I'm the other kind of minister. I'm the kind of fucks with you. Imagine a classroom full of guys, and they're gawking over a very pretty woman, to the point where they're just basically raping her in their heads. That's pretty much the frequency you're going to feel and see. So what I would do is I would tell them, there are prettier women out there that fuck horses for money, and film it. It's such an obscure thing to say during their illusion, their fantasy, that to this day, if they look at that pretty woman, they can't look at her. because then now they envision some other lady having sex with a horse, and they're like doing one of these things. And that's the kind of guy I am. You know, it's like, yeah, you're leering at somebody, you're being inappropriate. How do I, help you avoid being inappropriate? I'm going to introduce you to something that's so fucked up that when you do see that person, this image will be in your mind, in your head. And Shazam. So a good portion of my classmates now can't look at this particular lady and leer at her like they did. They actually look down and look away. So that's the kind of thing I do. But that's the thing. I am truly inclusive, at least 99% of the time. I don't endorse hate. I don't endorse anything that's illegal, and that's where I stand. Do I make friends? Sure. People like to hear the strong talk. Do people don't like me? Of course they don't like me, because for whatever reason they have, and 9 out of 10 times it's usually their own insecurity. I'll still post up my YouTube videos. I'll still do what I'm doing. And yeah, I have no problem being in a witchcraft group or pagan group or a left-hand path group, a druid group or a necromancer group, because that's what I do. But a lot of people are of a singularity, or also a single-minded, and it happens. I accept that as a fact for the people I deal with. But in another respect, I find it more interesting if they're more accepting of me when we bump into each other, So to me, this shows me it's not about ideology. It's about a shared level of consciousness, of education and wisdom, and that's what I like about people. So, and you'd be surprised how many Christians I'm friends with, and and I'm more surprised at times. But actually, I have some friends who are Christian who they'll bring it up more than me about the religious differences. But that's just because we have a lot of other similar interests that are bond versus philosophy or belief. But this is kind of a combination of response video to Lauren's video, but it's also about where I am, where I see things, how I stand, because a lot of people out there would like to challenge you, like to sit there and say, you're wrong. Well, okay, fine. If I'm wrong, bring out your footnotes and bibliography. Show me I'm wrong. Just recently someone said I was wrong. I kind of gave them a little challenge, a little poke, and they ran away. Well, when you have that happen, what kind of integrity does that person have? What kind of knowledge are they willing to share? And they don't. They just want to rant about something or other. So I got a couple more videos I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days. One's about Christian witchcraft, which is about, I'm estimating, almost an hour long, because it's one of those posts I did that I just wrote, left it for a day, and had 204 responses in 24 hours. And the other one is Brother Michael, who is a youth minister, and he and I were, while waiting to get our tires changed, had an exchange of biblical terms. So these are the funny things that I deal with. So anyways, I wish you all the best, and not in the fluff bunny way, but be well. Catch you later. Bye for now.